You're listening to Talk in the Night with your host, Paranormal Phil. And now, your host. Thank you and good evening, good morning, wherever you may be listening around the world or in the comfort of your home. Tonight, it's Valentine's Day week, with Valentine's Day on Wednesday. And tonight we're going to be talking about dating and relationships. Understandeachother.com is my guest's website. Derek Hart, and we're going to be talking about how women can understand. He teaches women how to understand men, and it's a course for women. So please welcome my guest to the show, Derek Hart.
Hi there. How you doing, Phil?
I am doing great. All
Great.
right.
Good to be here.
Thank you. So tell people a little bit about you and what you do.
I am a relationship coach, and I do a couple different things. I also I host a radio show myself. I actually teach couples. I've been teaching couples almost exclusively for about 4 years. They come to my office. They drive long distances. Sometimes they fly in for the weekend. And I do very intensive marriage counseling and get couples resolving their difficulties and distress unusually fast. I have a very solid method that helps connect couples back together really well. And I also run a women's group. I teach women how to understand men. And in doing that, we learn about vulnerability, dating, text messaging, all of the crazy, kooky, endless stuff with modern technology and dating sites. And the most important thing I do is I help women avoid the mistakes that get them in bad relationships. So I do that all day long, and I really love it.
Yeah, because I know there are women that choose the bad guy just because for some reason and everything like that, and they pass up the good guy, which I'm one of those guys that they look past me because as I heard on your website on one of the videos that we're trying to make them happy, but sometimes they misread that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's almost everyone's heard of the concept of a good guy and a bad guy. What I teach women how to do a lot of the time is not overanalyze the whole relationship. People come to me and they try to understand everything about the relationship and how do I know if I should stay with this guy, and that's good. But what I help them do is I help them break things down into smaller steps, into small little increments to understand. For example, what I teach a woman on who's on a first date. In the first 15 minutes, I would ask women, what do you have to figure out in the first 15 minutes on your first date with a guy? And women will tell me, well, I got to find out if he wants a relationship. Is he emotionally available? What are his plans? What does he have money? And I slow him down and I say, no. In the first 15 minutes, you need to then decide if you want to spend another 15 minutes. Yeah. Right? That's what you got to do. You got to slow it down. So that's what I do all day long with the women's group. It's fairly powerful. So.
Yeah, because I know. Yeah, I completely understand. Because sometimes I do that myself. I get ahead of myself, and it's like, whoa, slow down.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that men are wired to take women to bed and everything like that, and you teach women to slow down and stuff like that. And how to recognize that. Now, your course is for women only, but can, like tonight's show or the course, be helpful to men also?
Well, to join the course, it is a women's only course. I work very effectively with men individually. I work with individual clients, and I work with couples. A lot of the time, I actually work with a couple, but then I'll see the individuals separately. So that's another way I wind up working with men. I have not built courses yet for men. However, when the women join my courses, it's not only for single women; it's for women that are in relationships sometimes that join, and they're welcome to show the men any of the course. There's no secret, and I believe the men are learning a lot from it. But this course is a very sacred space for women to support each other. We have a private Facebook group where they ask questions every day almost, and I give answers and the other women give answers, and they're all learning together. And we are really, truly preventing women from getting into 3 to 4 month relationships that they would have by detecting early what's really happening. The first 2-3 dates, what's the guy really made of? And we help women understand that.
Okay. Now, because I know, like me, the last relationship I was in, and I hate bringing out the past, but it might help me as well as the women. But as far as she had just gotten out of a relationship with one of these quote unquote bad guys that just treated her poorly, and what drives these women to choose guys like that?
We all have a very strong foundation of what love means, and the very latest psychology studies have shared with us that the first 18 months of your life is when your brain gets very wired for how love works, and that comes from watching your surroundings, and that's usually mom and dad. Whoever raised you, they teach you how love works. They teach you how kindness works or lack of kindness works. So when a woman, started off as a little girl, has a relationship she's watching as a little girl, and it's her parents, and they're not relating well, she learns exactly what those patterns represent, and often the women are trying to resolve something. So it seems like they want to find love, they want to have love, they want to get in good relationships, but we are kind of wired to try to resolve what happens in childhood. So I help the women break that into smaller pieces and understand how they're not little girls anymore learning, how love works. They need to learn as adults. And often they have to change their patterns of behavior and how they operate in dating. And that's possible to learn. That's usually a very difficult topic, and people give each other advice all the time on that topic. And to get really solid advice and put it into practice is what we do in our group. And this stuff works. I mean, it works fast. So yeah. It's a blast. I feel really blessed to watch it working so well.
Now, what kind of stuff do you teach teach all the women and stuff like that?
Well, the women will come into the group and they will often share. I went on a date, and I went on a second date, and I got sexual really fast, and then. On the third date, we had a good time, but on the fourth date, we got into a little bit of a conflict, and, I just shared that I was frustrated about something, and he hasn't called me back. He hasn't responded, or he responded with one word. He just said, okay. And the women have absolutely no idea what's going on. I mean, they are so baffled, and part of what I teach is if you go to bed really early with a man, what happens is you don't have any kind of emotional foundation to understand how the other person resolves conflict. And that is really super serious stuff. I mean, it seems like it's just the first few dates, but the extraordinary pain that women get themselves into by taking off their clothes too fast is what I help them prevent over and over. It's really important.
Yeah, because I know there are men out there that just want to take the woman to bed as quickly as possible. And, of course, every man wants to get the woman in bed, but some people just want it right away. And so you teach the women how to spot that kind of stuff.
I teach them how to spot it, but I teach them also how to check in with themselves and observe, what they're feeling and if it feels safe to. I often teach the women that, you don't really know a person until you've had your first conflict with them. That's a really big idea, that I explain in the group. Until you've had some kind of minor conflict where you see how the man hears what you're telling him, you see and learn if he's introspective, you learn if he has the ability to look at himself and, maybe come forward and say, okay, maybe I did that. I apologize. Unfortunately, what happens much of the time is men and women, but we're talking about teaching women that men get offended and they feel criticized, and they're very sensitive to that. And I teach women how to approach
to kind of make. I'm trying to think of how to put this.
I'm losing you. I'm not hearing you.
Oh, okay.
Well.
Sorry. There we go.
Anyway.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just my connection that was being a little wonky.
Okay. You might have to say a part again if you ask me a question, because you were going in and out. Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, so as I was saying, a lot of women, when the guys were kind of programmed to want to fix things, especially in a relationship.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
of course, when we say something or do something to annoy a woman, they and we try to fix it and everything like that, it might annoy them more. So you talk on your website about tell them how to make the guy feel happy that he's making you happy.
Yeah. Men want to please women. Okay, let's just start there. Men want to make women happy, and when that gets interrupted, that's a very big problem. Now, I can hear in my head that the women already saying, "Boy, it sure doesn't seem like he wants to make me happy. He treats me poorly." Well, that happens after a series of things go on in the relationship that begin to cause that kind of problem. And it's not about who starts it. It's about the fact that this is a very common pattern in relationships. Somewhere along the line, the woman started criticizing the man. That might be because